Hi guys, welcome to the Craft Beer channel. Today I'm getting all official from my name badge to the general demeanour of sobriety. I'm here in Philadelphia at the Craft Beer Conference, one of the biggest collections of brewers in the world. And if you thought that craft beer wasn't big business, this is going to show you that it really was. Now I'm going to chat to Bob Pease, CEO of the Brewers Association, the guys who define craft beer in America and who look after all the breweries' exports and all of their interests. And it's going to be a really interesting chat with him because he's been in the industry for 20 years and he's got a lot to say on the subject of breweries, sellouts, beer quality, and more. Let's go speak to Bob. So I'm here with Bob Pease, CEO of the Brewers Association. Some people might not know what the Brewers Association is. What's its aims? Tell us about that first.
Well, thanks a lot for taking the time out to speak with me today, Johnny. I appreciate it. Appreciate the interest. The Brewers Association is the trade association that represents the small and independent breweries in the United States. So today in the United States there are over 4,400 small and independent breweries, and we're the trade organization that represents them at the federal level in terms of with government affairs, and then we also help represent them at the state level with also government affairs types of issues, and then we also help promote the industry. So our organization is based on two main tenets. One is to promote small and independent brewers, and one is to protect small and independent brewers. So on the promotional side, we do events like this, the Craft Brewers Conference and Brew Expo America, where we bring the entire industry together. In addition to an event like this, we do a giant consumer event every year in Denver called the Great American Beer Festival.
It's on the list.
Yep, it's the best beer festival in the world in my book. But the Great American Beer Festival was patterned after the Great British Beer Festival and was really inspired by Michael Jackson, the late British writer who was a founding father in our movement. So we're basically engaged on our members' behalf to promote them and to protect them. The promote work is to reach the beer drinker and educate them about the beers from small and independent breweries, and then the protect side is to make sure that our members have the ability to compete in the marketplace, primarily domestically, but increasingly in the international market as well.
So you're not a charity, but are you profit making or? We
are in the United States what we're called a 501c6, which is a not-for-profit trade association. And what that means is that we are absolutely allowed to produce what we call a surplus, and we actually do produce surpluses every year. But what happens to those surpluses is that they have to be plowed back into the organization.
So is there sort of an ultimate goal? Is there a certain amount of the market you guys want to take, or?
Well, right now, small and independent brewers have 12.2% of the market by volume, 21% of the market by dollars, which is pretty significant. So 1 in 5 every dollar spent on beer in the United States goes to small and independent craft breweries. And our aspirational goal is to achieve 20% market share by the year 2020. But again, that's aspirational. If we don't make it, nobody's going to get fired, or we just want to make sure that as long as the consumer, the beer drinker, is allowed to be the driving force of this beer revolution that's going on, in the U.S., but all over the world, certainly in the U.K., we feel good that our market share will continue to increase because the beers that our members are producing is what the beer drinker wants. It's, there's variety, there's quality, there's experimentation, there's exploration, and I think really importantly, there's authenticity. The beer drinker can reach out and touch and meet the brewery owner of these beers, and the large international brewing companies can't make that same claim. They can't make that same emotional connection with the beer drinker that we can.
Yeah. And so what is the definition of a brewer that you would represent? You say small and independent. What are the figures behind that?
Great question. I mean, for us, we established a definition of a craft brewer. And the reason we felt we needed to do that is we needed to define who we work for, who do we represent. And so our definition has 3 tenets: small, independent, and traditional. Small for us is defined as any brewer producing 6 million barrels of beer a year or less. Independent means that they cannot have 25% or more ownership by an entity that themselves is not a craft brewer. And traditional means that they need to focus on brewing beers beers with quality and heritage.
So it's sort of enhancing the flavors rather than as some of the macro brewers are doing, reducing them for mass market appeal, supposedly.
Yes, that's a very tricky area, adjunct brewing, because you can add anything into beer. You can add rice and corn into beer and to actually enhance the flavor. But yes, if you're using adjuncts to, kind of minimize or reduce taste, that would not qualify.
Yeah. So, I mean, all three of those, I guess, are slightly subjective in that, size. Why was 6 million picked?
6 million for us is 3% of the overall beer market. So, we recognize on some levels 6 million barrels or 6 million hectoliters sounds pretty big, but it really, when you take it in the context of the overall beer market, it's still pretty small. And the main driving force around that was to unify our craft brewer definition with a political initiative that we're involved in. It's legislative, and that's the pursuit of reduced federal excise tax for small brewers. And our legislation had the 6 million barrel mark in there, and so we felt it was in order to be consistent, it was important for us to link up the craft brewer definition with our excise tax legislation, which is called the Craft Beverage Modernization and Tax Reform Act.
Catchy.
Yeah, rolls just right off your tongue, right?
So what happens when a brewer reaches that 6 million mark or gives away some of their equity? Are they're no longer under your protection? They're no longer being promoted by you?
It's not quite that black and white. When somebody right now, nobody has graduated over that 6 million barrel mark, so we haven't experienced that yet. But certainly there's been a recent, small number of acquisitions where small independent breweries have been purchased by one of the large global brewers, either AB InBev, Miller Coors, or Constellation. And when that happens, nobody gets kicked out of the Brewers Association. Those breweries stay as associate members in the Brewers Association, but they no longer meet our definition of a craft brewer. They're no longer included in what I would call in what is our data set for craft brewing. So that 12.2% of market volume that craft brewers have captured does not include the brewers that have been purchased by AB InBev, Miller Coors, or Constellation.
So you're taking like 2 steps forward and then 1 step back where one goes, yeah.
Yep. And that's not quite. That's why I said that 20 by 20 goal is aspirational, and but what's not aspirational, what is clear cut, is who do we work for? Who do we represent? Who needs our help? And those are the small and independent brewers. When you get purchased by a large brewing company, you no longer have the same challenges that a small and independent brewery does. You have advantages when it comes to access to raw materials, distribution, access to retail accounts. You have advantages that independent companies simply no longer have. So there is a bright line for us there. There's a distinct difference.
And do you think those sellouts are going to be, obviously it's going to mean that thousands, maybe millions of people will start drinking great beer, like Lagunitas is going to have access to markets they've never had before. Is that a good thing for beer, or is it putting pressure on the small guys as well?
I think you can make a case for either. I think it's probably a little bit of both. The beer that is, some of these companies are making, you use the Lagunitas example, is world class. They make some of the best beer in the world. But, now their business model has shifted. But in the end, I think, and that's a decision that we respect. That's a decision they need to make for their business. But, in the end, I think the more people that are drinking more different styles, the better. In this country, after Prohibition, up until the mid-late 80s, light lager dominated, and that was the only beer style that was available, by and large, to the beer drinker. And light lagers are a wonderful style, but that commoditization of beer almost killed beer in this country. And we feel the small and independent brewers have saved beer in this country now with all of the different styles, exploration, innovation that they're doing. So in the long run, I guess that's a long-winded answer saying the more people are drinking, the more different styles of beer, the better.
And we're talking about small independent brewers, but some of them are pushing the 6 million. Craft beer is no longer a small concern, really. It's part of the mainstream.
It's big business. 4,400 small and independent breweries now in the United States. Our members have created over 120,000 jobs in this country in the last 25 years. Many of those jobs are manufacturing jobs. There's not many industries that can make such a claim, and that has really helped us And politically, it's helped us because, when we go in now and meet with members of Congress and we tell our story, they sit up and take notice. They want to come to the brewery. They want to see where all these jobs are being created. It's a real, true American success story, and I know it's being repeated all over the world.
So how does it? You've been in this business for 20 years. How does that situation where you can go to senators and make a case compared to how it was in the 80s?
It's it's two different worlds. You can't even compare. We have come so far in really a relatively short time. When I first started engaging in government affairs efforts on behalf of the Brewers Association, that was about 8 years ago. A lot of our members were like, "What?" I'd call them up and say, "I want you to come to Washington. I want you to tell your story." They're like, "No, I'm not. I don't do that, man." It's like, "That's the man. I'm not. I'm not going to come and do that." Now we get hundreds of people wanting to participate in our annual hill climb, where we go and organize meetings, and everybody goes up on the hill and tells their story. So we've just come so far as a community, as an organization. I mean, look at the Brewers Association. This is crazy. I mean, we didn't always have resources like this.
Yeah.
So we've seen we've come a long way, and but again, we always keep in mind in the Brewers Association that this is all being driven not by the Brewers Association, really not even by the breweries. It's being driven by the beer drinker, and we try very hard never to lose sight of that. And as long as we keep helping our members thrive and grow, and give them give the beer drinkers what they want, we're going to be good.
Well, I think what the BA does is fantastic because from my experience of talking to brewers, some of them are not exactly born businessmen or born speakers to the public. So having a face that they can come to and know that they're going to get the support they need, get the drive they need, and get. I mean, a place like this is crazy. Some guy wheeled a brewery into this building, and it's now for sale.
Who's gonna buy it?
Yeah, it's a crazy situation, and coming from a smaller country, we've only got 1,000 breweries now. But to come to a place like this and see the business that craft beer has become, to see the fact that it's gone so completely mainstream, just lights a fire under my arse. It gets me very excited. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Keep doing what you're doing,
All right,
and let's get 20% for 2020.
Here's to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.